Hello and welcome to Filling in the Gaps. I'm Justin.
I'm Darren. Barely.
It's early morning here as we record. Today we are going back to Alice and Smith, the makers of Black Watchmen. I believe it was our first episode.
It was, yeah.
We're going
a long time ago.
Way back to another game. Once we'd played that one, we thought we would play through all of theirs.
We were burned out to the core, man. At least I was.
So we have this game that we played for today called Ahnayro.
Don't ask me to say it.
Darren, say it.
I still can't say it. I can say it now. Ahnayro?
That's how I say it. Darren has said it in every possible pronunciation and spelling.
Ahnayro. Yeah,
Ahnayro was a common for a while. I had no idea. Sometimes I was, what are you talking about? Oh, right.
Yeah.
It is spelled Ahnayro. And it's called Ahnayro, the Dream World. It is roughly $5 a base, so this is a pretty cheap game. Its release was back in 2016, and it has very positive ratings, but only 147 people rating it. And my suspicion is it's very positive because these are people who have played Black Watchmen or 19-4 or one of the other Alice and Smith things.
Yeah.
This game, I know at least, I think on my sale video, I talked about Cyrano Story, which was their free game. Very, I think, more similar to Ahnayro than Black Watchmen.
Definitely, yeah.
Black Watchmen, I don't know how to put it. It felt like they were trying to build towards something that, as we said in that episode, they didn't quite. Cyrano Story is really just, here's some riddles, go search online for the answer. Boom.
Yeah.
And
I quite like that one. I liked it the first time I played it.
Minor spoiler here. Cyrano Story is, out of the three I've played now, I think the best. But
I can see that.
But I think that that's part of the issue, is how long the game can go and how long I can be frustrated with the game. Whereas Cyrano Story was super short, so there's not a long time of frustration.
I like the feedback system of Cyrano Story because you would in that game you would think you had an answer and you would type it in, and then the computer would talk back to you. It would have certain keywords that it would actually respond to
and say, "Oh, that's close." Or
that's close, but think about like this, and it's like, oh, I like that. Rather than you have to search everything online, you could know that you're getting to where I thought, yeah. And then that came much later than this, so maybe their next game is going to be something like that, I guess. Maybe.
It is possible, yeah. I would recommend it if you like this type of game.
Yep.
I don't know of anyone else really doing this type of game.
No, we talked about this all 3 years ago? I haven't seen any other game really like this, and yeah, it's the only one of its kind, I guess, on Steam. So pick it up if that's your thing. But prepare for frustration.
$5 is a good price for it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we played it for. I don't know. My final playtime was something like 20 hours. So
yeah, but playtime in this game doesn't mean what it does in every other game.
No, I mean it could
this means you probably left it running while you
72 hours, really. But yeah.
Who knows how long you were searching on.
I mean, how long did we play this for, though, on, like, if we were to take the total number of days? We started playing it on, like, a Monday, and we finished it by Thursday, I think. We finished it in about 4 days, yeah? 3 days?
I think probably a couple more than that, honestly. I would say a week. It'll take you a week, especially because
if you play at our pace.
You're going to get frustrated and rage quit at some point.
I certainly did, yep.
We can't really talk about this game much more without getting into spoilers because it is all just about the puzzles and what you're doing. Again, I would recommend it especially if you liked Black Watchmen, then this game is for you. But otherwise, it's a tough thing to kind of sell.
I wouldn't recommend this game to anyone, to be honest. Honestly, I wouldn't say...
Not even to people who like the Black Watchmen.
I mean, yeah, them. Those are a special breed of people, that 147 people. But like, I wouldn't go up to some random person and say, oh, do you like puzzle games? Yeah, I like puzzle games. Oh, you need to play Black Watchmen or Ahnayro, whatever the hell it's called. Ahnayro.
Listeners, welcome to
Ahnayro.
That's the one I'm going with.
Okay,
yes.
right. Yeah, I wouldn't say anyone like you need to like drop everything you're doing and play this. Nah, not a chance. Not a chance. But have you played Black Watchman? Yes, I have, Darren. Have you played Ahnayro? No, I haven't, Darren. Okay, go and play Ahnayro. That would be my advice. But
my better advice would be to anyone is to tell them to play Cyrano Story, which is free.
That's true.
Try it out. Do you like it? If you like it, then you might give Ahnayro a try. But I think it's time that we get into the spoiler section. So, if you haven't played Ahnayro and you don't want us to spoil everything for you, now's the time to leave.
I don't know what that was. That was like
that's definitely not
a sliding door.
Sliding door in a game that has no sliding door
or doors. Yeah,
anything
apart from doors to your mind.
In this game, first thing, if you're listening to this because you happen to be stuck because the sides of your screen are black, and cut off part of the answer for you to choose, what you need to do, you need to exit the game and come back in, and before you click play, you need to change your aspect ratio, because I don't know what aspect ratio it is at default, but it is not anything like what our monitors would be.
No, definitely not.
And by doing that, it cuts off part of the game. You can't actually play.
It's unplayable.
You posted a picture saying, well, this could be a problem. And it's not a problem for the one that you posted the picture for.
No.
But it is for a later puzzle. And so I did, when I saw that.
I saw you reply to that from like a year ago, yeah.
Right. So that's basically the history of this, is we were going to play it. We said we were going to play it. You started it, got frustrated, put it away for about a year. And it keeps coming up on our, maybe we should play this list.
Yeah.
And so I kind of said, yes, let's just do it. I want to get it off of our list. And yeah, so I made sure to leave that comment just in case some other person happens to find that picture and it helps them, because we were quite worried that we weren't going to be able to finish the game.
The first puzzle, no, it didn't matter, but the second one, somewhat part of the solution is off screen, and you'd have to guess where the letters were. I mean, it is an easy fix, but I mean, at the time, I'm pretty sure I did try a couple of different ratios and they didn't work. That's poor development, I guess. So, yeah.
Well, it's even more poor development that in the options menu, you can't change the aspect ratio.
Yeah.
So you have to leave the game to get that little window thing to pop up before you can fix it.
Yeah.
There are probably a number of people who have rage quit because of it and never come back and don't know that there is a fix for it. When you load up the game, there is an opening load screen that gives a hint of saying you can make it back to the artifact by clicking on this one thing. The artifact is everything we're playing on, I guess, but what it is, where it came from, what it actually does, never explained.
No, that sucks. I'm not a fan of that.
Right. There's a lot that we've talked about before we recorded that really frustrated us about this game, and that would be one of the things. You also have some narration. I find this to be a bit of a hassle, more than a help, I guess. Sometimes it will help you. It will give you a hint if you actually listen to it, but you're going typically out and back in, for me, many times. And so every time you would come back into one of these screens, Jocelyn would just start talking and talking and talking. It's like, come on. You can pause it, or you can kind of make her stop if you click on this icon. But even that, I mean, that's one thing that I would say that really frustrated me about the game, is that moving around the artifact did not feel natural. It did not feel intuitive.
Yeah, Alison Smith need to get in touch with Fireproof Games for that.
You can click on the hint system, and then to make the hint system go away, you have to click on hint again. You can't just click on the screen and make it go back to where you want to. Same thing with the sigil.
There's no back button, basically, either, yeah.
There is a back at the top but that's again, it's hidden until you go to the top, and then but that just feels really clunky. It doesn't feel natural. So you have to go back and back and back. I just didn't like that.
Yeah, the UI is not good.
It works once you do it, but even towards the end of the game, after playing for, let's say, a week, I was still forgetting and trying to click on that artifact or click on the clue to make it go back instead of clicking on the word sigil again or clicking on the word hint again. Right?
Yeah.
As far as the gameplay itself, again, gameplay? I mean, you basically go in, look at some pictures, maybe listen to some narration, and their hint. So oftentimes with a card, there would be a word on the front and a sentence or a phrase on the back to help you out. With most of the general puzzles, there was just kind of one phrase and maybe two or three or even 4 pictures. But that could also be very misleading.
There's some definite red herrings throughout the whole game. Like there's not. It's like if they included less pictures, then maybe the hints would be too obvious. So they've added like more pictures to give it more ambiguity, I suppose, which doesn't help.
But the ambiguity can be a bit of an issue as well, because sometimes there's, based on the pictures and the words they give, sometimes there is another answer which should fit. And I do think that there are some times where maybe they have both options, but most of the time it didn't seem like it. And sometimes you had to get the specific word, even though another word was very, very close. Which becomes a real problem in this one, because unlike Black Watchman, in this game, you have to just choose the letter combinations on the sigil wheel.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a Ouija board almost. Whereas in Black Watchman, you can just keep on firing commands into that little text box. It's this, no, it's this, no, it's this, no. And it's a lot quicker. This one is like, it's this. And you got to wait for the animation. Ooh. Oh, no, it's not that. Okay. Bling, bling, bling. Bling, as you're clicking around the little thing. Pooh. Oh, it's not that one as well. Or bling. Oh, I made a typo. It's like, now you gotta just type in anything to reset it again. There's no like cancel button. I like the idea of this Ouija board kind of thing. I'm gonna call it a Ouija board. I know it's a sigil, but I like the idea of this, but it's, again, with a lot of things, with all the UI stuff in this game, it's just poorly thought out.
There's also the issue of, I know there was a point where we were playing together. We're going to talk about that later. But there were some times where you couldn't find the letters.
Yeah, I seem to be blind at some point, like, because they've done it, and I guess
you do have to look at some of the letters upside down as well, right?
Yeah, because I mean, like the way that they spell things, they don't spell them. They spell them correctly, but they don't spell them how I would spell them in my brain, if that makes sense. Like they don't spell it by like say phonetics. Like, they don't have it in chunks.
It's not syllable chunks, no. Yeah. And I think that that's on purpose.
It is on purpose, because you'll have, like, P-O, if they want to spell, like, I don't know, Polly, they'll have, like, P-O, and then there'll be
one L,
and then Y. Or they'll have P-O, and they'll have P. So which one is it? You know, it's, they purposely, like, muddy the water. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes for me, it was like, I think there was one that we were doing when you were over here, and I was like, nah, that's not the answer. And then you came over and you stood behind me at the computer, and you're like, there it is there. Like, oh, yeah.
Numbers could also be an issue.
Numbers were the worst.
A 9 upside down looks like a 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, I don't like it as much. I prefer to just type it in. So, again, I think Cyrano's Story, we could type it in, right?
Yeah.
So I think that they tried it out for this one, and maybe they realized it's not as fun as the other way. I think the other way also gives them the ability to have more options. So if you have a word that's very close, or if there are multiple spellings,
sure, then
they could have those both available.
Because they did that in Black Watchman. There was multiple solutions for some of them. Yeah. Lloyd's TSB, I'm looking at you.
But I think that works better. This looks nicer, I suppose. And there are, in some ways, some hints. Whereas with Black Watchman, you had no idea if you were typing it in right, if you were typing it in with a space or without a space, if that made a difference. Yeah. You didn't know what would make the difference. Having this here did make it go, well, I need an X, and there's no X on the wheel. So clearly, it can't be this word. And so you could get rid of some words that way.
It's definitely got some benefits.
It's a bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I don't like it as much. I think I'd go back to the typing. I think it would be easier for them, and I think it's easier for us.
Yeah. Quicker as well.
The hint system, you get 5 hints a day.
Yeah. It's very strange. It's like a mobile casual game, almost like, come back tomorrow for your gems.
A little bit. I don't mind so much. I think that it does prevent me from spamming the hint system, which I probably would have done.
I mean, if you only have 5, and that's your lot anyway in this game, it's not like they have 10 hints. You can't abuse it. You can only take the 5 per puzzle anyway. And those
4.
Oh, sorry, 5 did total, but 4 per puzzle. And that's it. And those hints are generally garbage.
Some of them seem to be more distracting than helpful. Yeah, I'm very torn on the hints. I want them to have hints. As you said with Cyrano's story, where it says, oh, you're close, or you're on the right track, or, boy, that's way off. That works. The kind of hotter, colder. Like, that can work. But this, just some of them, the hint they gave, it's like, well, I've already figured that much out. Thank you very much. And pretty much I always had figured all that out. And some of them, I could get all 4 and still not figure it out. And that seemed a bit weird. But again, I think that's some of them, it's because some of them are very misleading with the pictures or the words, or some of the pictures are just seem so generic. It's hard to know what it's related to. But the thing about the hint system was you use them, and then after your computer time clicks over to midnight, you can get 5 more. Mm-hmm. So the ideal thing would be to get your 5, exit the game because it doesn't do it on its own, exit the game, come back in and get another 5. So you could have 10 in one go. That would give you 2.5 full sets. But you can also, did you see that there's the option to only play the game at night for some reason?
Yeah. I even commented on that on a picture. Like, that's an odd option.
I guess it's meant to be the dream world, and so you should only play when you should be sleeping, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird
I have no
option.
idea. And what is nighttime to them? Like, is that 8 o'clock? Is it 9 o'clock?
Does it depend on the season?
Yeah.
In winter, do you have a much longer time to play?
Yeah, if you only play at nighttime in Scotland in February, that would be 4 p.m. pretty much.
But in the summer, you don't get to play very much.
No, after 11.
I wonder if anybody has ever used that option.
I should go back and just click it on just to see what happens. Or, like, because I've got no idea. Like, it's such a strange option to have. Like, does it not let you type anything in? Or, I guess we should have researched this before we started speaking about it and bad-mouthing it. Like, we don't even know what it does.
Well, I'm assuming it just doesn't let you play. It probably says, come back at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to turn it on during the day to see what it does to you. And does it immediately kick you out if you're playing at noon?
Yeah, nope.
you click play only at night, it just kicks you out of the game. That'd be quite interesting. Yeah, I think throughout the whole game, especially early game, I just felt confused by everything. I don't know. I've said this before when we played Black Watchman, that I'm pretty sure in that episode I gave them permission to make games without story, because I don't think that they know how to do it. And this game has kind of confirmed that for me. There is a woman named Jocelyn, right? That's the narrator you're going to hear a lot about. Once you solve certain puzzles, you get access to links. There are little diamonds on the artifact. You click on those. They take you to her blog where she talks about not being able to sleep and being in a clinic and all sorts of things I don't think you would actually be putting in a blog, but...
Yeah, well, that's her way to deal with it, I guess. I don't know.
You have other links that will take you to...
The Rosenberg Institute.
And was it Oak Hills or...
Oak Hills, the Glasswick Initiative, is it called? The Glasswick Initiative?
You don't actually get a link, I don't think, ever to the Glasswick Initiative.
No, you gotta look that up.
I found that one. And I hope they made it.
They did. They definitely did.
Because it looks like some early 90s.
Yeah, it's like AOL dial-up.
All the sprites just dancing on the screen.
And the thing at the bottom where it's like, visited today, it's like just keeps on ticking on. I don't think it's got that many hits.
Yeah, not today,
Not
definitely.
today.
It talks about seminars available, which is one of the things that you get from... What's Rosenberg's first name?
Adam?
Yeah.
Is it Adam? Yeah. I think it's Adam.
It's definitely A. I couldn't remember if it's Adam Albert. But yeah, so Rosenberg, he talks once you get into the archives about going to a Glasswick Technique seminar. But this Glasswick Technique website is just so... Like, there are no links that go anywhere.
No, it's all dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you could assume that it still exists, but nobody actually ever uses it.
Yeah.
So again, the 14,000, that's a lie. Maybe 14,000 total ever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very Scientology and, or David Icke. That website is just still, mumbo jumbo. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3.
You have to take a test to decide.
Tier 5, give us all of your money.
Did you have any problems when you would leave, say, to go to Google and then come back, that the aspect was messed up?
No.
I had that early on, but I think once I physically changed it at the start, then that did fix it. Mm-hmm. But that was an issue early game. I was like, wait, what happened? What happened? Because I would start up the game and the aspect ratio would be fine, but going to Google and coming back, that was a bit of an issue. Mm. You did have a real issue, though, because you kept using...
I kept on using that. I don't know why I did that.
So he would go to the top of the screen. What is it? A planet?
A globe, yeah.
You click on the globe. That takes you to the Alison Smith forums so that you can then search the internet. So he was always doing this extra step of doing that, where I was just alt-tabbing over, alt-tab. As far as our main source of information was Wikipedia, I'm pretty sure that's where they're getting it from, too.
It's Wikipedia the game.
Hopefully they do not change the pages or the words on the pages, because that can totally take away.
Yeah.
There's less alternate reality in this one than Black Watchman.
There's a few things, but not much, yeah.
The website, I will say this. The website for the sleep clinics, both of them, outside of Rosenberg's picture, which is sideways for no apparent reason, on the About Our Staff, fix that. That makes no sense. There's no way they would leave it that way. But the websites themselves did look much better this time. We didn't get any sort of Facebook pages with no friends or an intranet where we had all the access, but literally only had 3 documents in all of the intranet. This one, we got into one intranet, which I think was the Oak Hills one.
Oak Hills was first, yeah.
Which has a ton of entries. And
all in hex.
Did you end up going through?
Yeah, I did a couple of them. I think a lot of them were... at least 3 of them that I checked were the same. So it's just like...
Like they all say exactly the same thing?
Yeah, it's just like, you're here because of it's some kind of like standard message. It's nothing special for them, I don't think.
Oh. That's a little disappointing, but okay. Seems a waste of time then.
Yeah. Just to give you something to dredge through.
Yeah. So there's probably one.
There might be one. Yeah, there's probably one. Because out of the hundreds that are there, it's probably the one that I didn't check, yeah.
To go back to the story, though, the whole point of the story is Jocelyn can't sleep, and she goes to the sleep clinic, and they teach her what is called the Glasswick technique, which, as far as I can tell, is totally made up for the game.
Yeah.
And unless that 90s website is real. She talks, like the narration, she talks a lot about what she sees in her dreams. And some of them work, especially the first series where it deals with Peter Pan.
Mm-hmm.
But I do find this one very frustrating, or at least I found it very frustrating, because as soon as she talked about her shadow separating, I was trying to do Peter Pan for everything, and that was the final clue for the section. Everything else they wanted me to look up, the Serpentine Lake, and was it Ormond Street Hospital?
Yeah.
Which I only knew about because of how it was connected in the London Olympics opening.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't heard of it before. That didn't mean anything to me, but at least I had an idea of what was going on there. It seemed like that would have been a much better final puzzle piece, and to put Peter Pan in there earlier instead of the other way around. Because everything she said there were things about fairies and a ship. And I was like, it's got to be Peter Pan. But not available until the final one.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a real problem with the riddles and the answers in general, is that they seem to be leading to really complex answers or things that are very hidden. And some of them are not nyctophobia, but because that stopped me for a long time, because I found fear of the dark, which was one of the main answers, but it was like nyctohylophobia. I was missing one syllable, and that wasn't where I was looking.
No.
So that...
Although, if you look it up, I mean, if you were just to put in fear of forests, which is what that's all about, it's like, right. Oh, there you go.
Whereas I was doing fear of the dark.
Yeah.
Right. So, yes, it can be very frustrating, though, when you get some that are really simple, like voodoo.
Yeah.
Everything else about them has been voodoo. It's like, every one of them I'm trying to answer voodoo. And it's not there. Oh, because it's not yet.
Yeah, and you see that Ouija board. You're like, there's a lot of O's in there.
Yeah, let's go for it. Did you find that, though, too?
I mean, I like the individual answers. It was the last, like the final answer where where you solve like 4 or 3 riddles, and then you've got them all on screen, and you've got that final one. Because we did a couple over here that night, and it's like one of the answers was just death.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, I mean, I got that from Bob Dylan, because one of the things was "is not the end," and that song is "Death is not the end." So I just typed in, "Oh, can you put in death?" Yeah, you can. Oh, it's nothing complicated at all. It's like all the stuff we took to solve the individual riddles to get there were way more complicated. And then that final one, you're supposed to piece them together to see. I always thought it was like, well, in the beginning, I thought it was like we were solving these puzzles and then we had to find like a common thread between each one. And I suppose you do. I suppose that death one still fits because it was like suicide is not the end. And I can't remember the other one, but it's like, oh, it's just death. Okay.
That's one thing with a hint system, is the hint system goes away at that point.
For that and for the cards.
Right. Yeah. So you don't get the hints for the cards. You don't get the hints for the putting all the solutions together to make it. And that's one thing, too, where I just found that putting it all together, they tried to have pictures or something, but it didn't really feel like it went together. Maybe my brain just wasn't seeing what they were trying to show. But I was looking at a table of stuff and going, I don't really see how it's related. And even after I solved it, not really being sure.
I think sometimes what it is some of those pictures that are on there when you are searching online, some of them are taken directly from the Wikipedia page. And it's that,
I think a lot of them are, yeah.
It's that picture that's on the Wikipedia page off to the right, you know, with
the very first one.
The summary one. And so I think maybe some of the pictures are there just to let you know, like, oh, you're searching in the right place because you found that picture.
But that's not what I'm saying. So when you have the group, you've done 3 or 4 individual riddles, there is a background picture. So, for example, you'll see a broken glass, a pair of scissors.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And this whole, I think that table was the voodoo table, but I don't see how that works
attention
together.
to those. I don't even know what they were.
Well, maybe that was my problem. Maybe I should have paid no attention to them at all.
Because they didn't seem to have any, significance to me anyway. And they were too washed and faded, and it was just a background to me.
I do want to talk about when I came over. So we did. This is a frustrating game for us to play because we said, oh, we're going to play it together at the same time so we can help each other. But it's kind of impossible to play without one person getting at least slightly ahead of the other. And like towards the end, you thought I'd gone really, really far.
Yeah, Justin sent me a picture. Like, this is my progress, and it was like all lit up. And I was like, what? I thought we were playing this together, but you weren't actually that far ahead.
I had solved one puzzle.
But it just
whereas he, for ages, had been about 4 puzzles ahead of me. I solved one. It looked like that, but I tried to explain to him, it's all just links.
It's all story,
there's nothing as far as puzzles I've solved. Like, I had to solve 3 to catch up to you here. I've solved 1. And it just wasn't even that difficult. I don't even think I need to give you a hint for that one.
I don't know. I can't remember which one it was, but
For you, it was the last one, which we'll get to that at the end.
But yeah, coming over was fun.
That was good, and thank goodness I did, because...
Yeah, that was a hard one that we got through.
The very last puzzle, I guess, of the main game, of what we would call the main game.
I would say that would have been like a final boss puzzle, really.
Well, I think that's what it was meant to be, because when you solve it, it says, that's the end until another dreamer comes. Like, there's that whole narration bit. But then there's still 5 things to solve, so it doesn't feel like... That's a real problem with the game, is it doesn't know how to end, or how to build up, or, again, story.
Yeah, because, I mean, I was basically working just clockwise, because you start off at 12 o'clock, and then it opens up 1 o'clock. And so I thought it was just like, and the way I solved it was just go around clockwise direction. But that big puzzle comes at like 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then you've got...
Well, there's really not much left, right?
You got like 4 puzzles to solve after that, maybe. And one of them is so easy, it comes up like it's the first top search on,
Well, that's an issue of us not playing right away. And I said this when we played Black Watchman, that in a way it would be good if we were so late to the game, because the thing is, once you're this late to the game, the Google Analytics and the search and everything has put it together. If you start putting in a certain number of these hints and word phrases, that it's going to start leading you to the right answers.
Maybe we should use something like Alta Vista then.
Does it still exist?
I don't think so. Or Bing.
Bing.
Yeah.
Bing, for when you don't want all the answers given to you in Ahnayro. But at the same time, I don't always mind. So, for example, the big boss riddle fight of 5. Was it 5 or was it 6?
5, I think, yeah.
There are 5 riddles that you have to solve within a very short amount of time. So you go in, and there's a card for each one. So you've got a word on the front, a picture to kind of guide you, and on the back, some sort of hint. And even if you get one, what did we decide? If you solve it, it still expires after a certain amount of time.
It's still on a timer, so it still ticks down. So you've got to solve that one quickly and then move on to the next one. And then that timer starts for that card.
It also screams if you don't make the timer that's got you the first time.
Yeah, Jesus, I leapt out my chair at that.
But that was great for us. I brought over my laptop, so we could both be searching. You could read off a clue, I could type it in, and usually Wikipedia page would pop up right to the top. And this is what I mean as far as coming late to the game. Yeah. Google is just giving me the answer. It's sometimes you have to read through the Wikipedia page, and sometimes you still have to figure it out. And some of them I don't think we ever did finish solving, because it is a finite number. So you could...
I'd say there must be about 20 though, maybe.
You could just get a certain number that you know, and then switch through. Pretty much.
We probably solved about... How many do you think we solved? 10? Half of them? Maybe more than that? More than 10, I think.
Probably more than 10. But thank goodness we were doing it together, because that would be a real push for time. And then I had written down all the answers. We had written down all the answers, so that when I had to play on my own back in my place, I didn't have to look up absolutely everything. But there were still some... I was like, oh, yeah, the Trotsky one. I don't think we ever did figure out the Trotsky one. No. We know what the answer is. We know what the year is supposed to be, but for some reason it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And
They're not accepting that one.
There are just some where we couldn't quite get it.
Well, there's some it's like, type in, the emperor did this. It's like, oh yeah, it's like right on Wikipedia, first thing. It's even in the little blurb on the search engine. Like, yep, there we go. But I kind of liked that puzzle, but I also hated it. I grew to hate it by the end. It's like, I thought it was a cool idea at first. I thought you would like solve them in that time and then they would lock in. But like, no, you got to solve all of them. Otherwise, because we were solving them and then we were getting like to the 4th card and then you hear that scream. It's like, oh, the one that I just solved is now a new card.
So you have to wait and kind of start over again.
Yeah.
Though, did we ever try where we would keep going on just the new ones?
Yeah, I think we did, because, I mean...
You can... So, all the ones you've solved would still be on their timer,
It's
right?
individually timed, so it's like, it doesn't matter if one's got like 5 seconds left or one's got a minute left.
But we were at one point convinced that they all expired and you just have to wait for them all to run out their timers. But I don't think that's the case. I think you can keep going around and hoping you get 5 that you know.
Yeah, because we're getting to the point where, okay, we solved 4, we just need one more. Okay, we've got 2 more to solve now.
But that worked well. It took me 3 tries, I think, when I was at home, but I had most of the answers already. I don't think that I found any new ones. The one about the I'm convinced needs to be gravestone or headstone or tombstone.
No idea what that is.
Like a memory that's behind you. Effigy doesn't seem to work. Eulogy doesn't work, though. I did. That was kind of a stretch. Statue we tried.
Gravestone, headstone, tombstone. I think we tried.
We just tried stones.
Stone,
yeah. It just didn't seem to have. So we're missing that one. By all means, if you figured that one out. Or if you figured out the Trotsky answer, put it in the comments. I don't care.
Because we thought, was it 1940? Like, that was what we had it as? 1940? Something like that? 1941?
Whatever it was the year of it was his death. And it was, because he was apparently attacked with it was amazing. You knew for some reason that it was going to be like an ice hammer, like the ice pick.
Yeah.
But.
Well, because it says in the clue.
It says ice pick, but when I think ice pick, I'm thinking what bartenders use to chop up ice.
Okay.
But you were convinced it was that. And I was like, well, I think that's a bit of a stretch. But it wasn't. That definitely has to be.
But the confusing thing is, when the ice pick slipped, the camera clicked. It's like, where's the camera thing coming in from? I just don't get that. So maybe it's not even Trotsky. Maybe it's something, because I was convinced that it was an ice climber who was taking a selfie and fell to his death.
That was a search we were on for a little while.
Yeah. I was just like a dog with a bone. I just could not let that go for the longest time. Like, no, it's definitely this. Who died climbing Mount Everest trying to take a selfie? Like, try Googling that. But yeah, it's probably Trotsky, but maybe it's not, because I just don't get the camera angle.
Yeah, I don't either. I did think that perhaps it had to do with the fact that it would have been in the news the next day, but we just didn't get it. So, listeners, if you figured that one out, let us know. We have no clue. It was fun, though. Especially, I think, because we were working together. It was fun. It was like escape room style. We're helping each other out. We're trying to solve it before the time runs out. If I was doing it on my own, I think I would have been really irritated when I noticed the timer going away, and that first screen would have really just... I probably would have rage quit and have to come back later.
And I think as well, for me, personally, I was saving all those cards to the end because I was convinced that the first card you get is very... It's not actually that tough, but it was very daunting to look at. And I was like, okay, these are special. They've got their own little circles. They're there for the end.
I'm so annoyed by that first card because we knew the answer.
Yeah.
We had found the passage. I don't know what happened if we
got sidetracked with something else.
Miscounted or something, but then we tried it once and then we're convinced that we were wrong, but we had it.
But it's the first one and there's other things to do. That's why I think we just were like, oh yeah, let's try something else.
It's the same with any kind of sandbox puzzles where you have multiple puzzles. You assume that, especially this one where certain puzzles lead up to others, that perhaps you need to solve all of them to get to this one that's glowing in orange.
It's glowing, it's got a thing circling around it. It's like, this is special. It's like, actually, it's the least special card. And I thought that was the end game.
I did too. And I was hoping for something more there, but it wasn't. And it was actually kind of unnecessary.
All the other cards are just like, it's just a little triangle on the board, but this has got its own block, its own sigil, its own everything.
The number of times I listened to that guy
say that whole passage, yeah.
But that's the thing. We do this timer thing. We work together. It's a lot of fun. We finally got there. And thanks for playing. The game's over. But here are 5 more puzzles.
Yeah.
Which I guess are to put a bit more of the story together. But again, story. We've got a woman who has trouble sleeping. She's taught to somewhat control her dreams, to have more lucid dreams where she can be more active in them. She decides, I guess, to go into a coma and live in this world from now on, right? Is that what you got?
I don't know. I thought she died.
Well, I think that it goes into that whole thing of, when you go into the archives, Rosenberg is talking about most of the people who they tried to do this with using whatever drugs and things to make this happen, most of them die, but not all of them. And the ones that do make it, I guess, to the astral plane and transcend, they choose to stay there, because he's referencing early on that these people who are in comas but their brains are still active, he's trying to rationalize, he's trying to understand what's going on there. And so you do get some of the story. I think that the Rosenberg archive things, why is every one of them look like it's been soaked in
coffee stained? Yeah.
It's not just a ring. It's I guess they're meant to be old and but even then, I don't know why he's bothered to scan them in and put them on this intranet, this top secret information where, in theory, some of his fellow workers might be able to find it. It seems a bit silly.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole thing is well, spoilers for Black Watchman, but probably delete that. But yeah, so
we could get into it. Darren wants to get into it, but if you're hearing this now, it means we've deleted that section because it gives a spoiler for Black Watchman in case you haven't played. Yeah. But you say that this is a precursor to the Black Watchman.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that happens here leads into it. I honestly didn't make that connection. I've so forgotten most of Black Watchman, except for some of the answers that bothered me or were very, very difficult, or just
that some of the superb voice acting.
That I definitely remember.
Yeah.
And I remember it just not quite getting to where I wanted it to.
I did like opening up this game and hearing the music, though, because it's really Black Watchman. It was just like a little wave of like, oh, I remember this. I've come kind of home to Black Watchman again.
And with opening up the boss fight, as I said before, the whole bottom, there's a whole lot of just links. So you're getting tons of blog entries, archive entries. Well, we had to hack into both of the intranets, right, and into the archive.
Yeah, the first one was easy because it was just like, oh, it's my hometown.
Okay, here's the thing: case sensitive, because I did type in Paris and it didn't work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I must not have capitalized it.
Okay.
Because when I tried it again, you said this is the answer. I'm like, I'm sure I tried that before, and I tried it lowercase, nothing. Had to capitalize it. Like, oh, that's why. It was
that second password. It took me a day to do that. I tried it for hours and then I gave up and then.
How did you even find that? Because I read the Chapman entry in the archive, but I don't know what about that instant made you look it up.
Because on the first day, I read it. And then I sent you the link for those two people that went to, Versailles, and they saw ghosts and stuff and they were ridiculed. And then I was like, oh, this could be important. But then we kind of got sidetracked and we started solving the other puzzles, I guess. And like, we don't really need to do this right now, but.
Well, we didn't know if there would be anything actually in there.
Yeah. But then I was searching all around every single thing. But I think one good thing the game does is like for each card or each kind of bit, all the lines point to it. So it's like something from the east side of the map has nothing to do with the west side of the map, generally. And so it just took a night of sleep, waking up and reading that page again. And it's like, oh, I'll never forget that year when those two guys did that. It's like, okay, so it was something to do with them. What year was it? 1901. There you go. Blam. In. But I'd been trying. I tried. Oh my God. I typed in everything into that thing, man. Everything. Well, apart from 1901.
There was also this section with a different part with the intranet, I think, for the Rosenberg Clinic, which I don't think we ever did access because you have to use an email address and a password.
Yeah, we did that for Black Watchman.
Yeah, well, we definitely tried, but we never cracked in, and so we don't know if there's anything in there, if it's important. It's not important for solving any of the puzzles.
No.
And this basically leads us to the end, I guess.
Which you got earlier than I did.
Which I got earlier because you can. You don't have to go in order.
Yeah.
So you go to the one that's all the way on the left, and you click on that. Once you solve that card, you get access to this video on Vimeo, which is kind of pointless. And again, voice acting is like clearly a grown woman trying to pretend to be a child. And just a bunch of gibberish, and I
drawing a symbol in the ground with crayon, and just nothing. And then it ended. So for you, at least for you, you would be like, "Oh, it's just another link." But for me, that was the last thing. So that was my end screen, and I was like, "Oh, is that it?" There's no. The only reason you finished the game is because you have got 100% achievements and everything is done on the board.
Except for the center. I really felt like the center would be something.
Yeah. Like, I was clicking on it, like, click. Is there something? I was trying to hold it and drag it and spin it. I was doing all kinds of, like,
it definitely looks like it, right?
Yeah.
It's a bunch building of gears. It looks like you should be able to move stuff.
Because every time you finish a sigil, it builds that picture. It's like, oh, you're making something. It's like, oh, come on. Seriously, just...
It's such...
I don't know.
It's such a frustration to get to that point. And it's the whole thing again with story. Allison Smith, just to me so far, has not shown that they know how to do story. They don't know how to build it up. They don't know how to finish it well. As much as we've been harping on it, I do enjoy playing the games, particularly if you're there as well. In the room is best, but even just being able to send messages back and forth, it is a fun kind of figure out some information, learn some interesting stuff. We learned about the person who is the inspiration for the exorcism of Emily Rose.
Yeah, that was
far more recent than either of us had realized.
Very dark, yeah.
And you learn. I don't learn as much as I should because I'm too objective focused. So I run through and I go, da da da. Oh, that's the answer. Done. And it is now gone from my brain.
Yeah.
Whereas I should be learning more about this stuff. This as a learning tool is a great way to get you interested in stuff that maybe you haven't seen before. There's all sorts of stuff about the Haiti Revolution that I read that I would probably never have read before. Will I remember it though? That's the problem. That is also on me. I don't get sidetracked because I need to get to the next puzzle.
Yep.
I do enjoy it. I would probably play another one again, especially if they're going to release them at $5. This is a good price for this kind of game.
Yeah, because 19.4 is quite pricey. I think it's, is it $40 or is it $30? It's up there. Black Watchman is 10, I think. This is 5. Serrano Story is free. So you got multiple tiers to enter at.
Right. I also wouldn't, I don't know. I did one of their live things, I think I've told you before, for 19.4, and that was just frustrating. I didn't really enjoy it. I liked what they were trying to do, but I didn't like what they were actually doing. And it took so long. I like this. I think if we could get more like Cyrano Story, definitely for free, I'm definitely going to play. But if we get some cheaper ones like this, there are going to be disappointments. There are going to be things that are going to frustrate me. I'm pretty much convinced that what I've seen with Black Watchman and what I've seen with Ahnayro is pretty much how I'm going to feel for every one of their games. But will I continue to play? Yeah, probably. And I think that really says something.
We've got something there. I mean, I like what they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to go for a more Cthulhu kind of angle for this game. The Dreamers, and there's a direct connection to Serrano Story in this as well. And definitely in Serrano Story, that was all about Cthulhu. So, because that led into the Moons of Madness game, which is Cthulhu on Mars. And so, and I guess even in the Black Watchman, that's what they were going for, but nothing seemed to happen with it. The story kind of just fizzled out. They've got a good idea, but yeah, it just falls flat, which is a shame.
I will continue to play for the riddles, but I will not play for the story.
Gaps filled, the more gaps created.